In the 70s, some of the industry's biggest bombshells were also some of its most hated personalities. From Catherine Bach fighting a morality battle with half of America, to Jane Fonda receiving countless death threats. In this video, we reveal the top 15 most hated Hollywood bombshell actresses of the 70s. Number 15, Diane Keaton. Diane Keaton had quite a watershed decade in the 70s. She appeared in both Godfather movies and won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her performance in Woody Allen's Annie Hall. Despite seeming like she could do no wrong, she drew a large amount of controversy after landing the role of a promiscuous Catholic schoolteacher in the drama Looking for Mr. Goodbar. When this happened, Time magazine came to her defense, decrying the double standard that allows Diane's male stars to play whatever roles they want, while simultaneously criticizing women for exhibiting flexibility in their career choices. But despite all of that, Diane is still considered one of the most beloved new Hollywood actresses. However, the one stain on her career continues to be her unending support for Woody Allen. In response to a number of sexual assault allegations against Allen, Diane said, "Tough situations arise, but you have to get over them." She also added that she was very grateful to Allen for all the work they have done together. Some fans are hoping she will retract these comments, but this doesn't look to be happening anytime soon. Number 14, Farrah Fawcett. When the name Farrah Fawcett is mentioned, two things come to mind: great hair and a great smile. Too bad these great assets weren't enough to shield her from negative press. In the 70s, she was experiencing a rise to stardom. However, she drew large amounts of controversy when she dropped out of the hit TV show Charlie's Angels after only one season. There was so much speculation about why Farrah withdrew from the show. Some said she felt she didn't need such trashy TV and wanted to try her hands at being a movie star. Others said her tight shooting schedule was putting a great strain on her marriage. Whatever the case, some fans never forgave Farrah for this perceived betrayal. However, the biggest controversy of Farrah's life happened in the 90s. Her director boyfriend James Orr beat her up so bad that she couldn't hide the injuries. Fans were outraged, prompting a police investigation. The authorities then pressured Farrah to testify against Orr in court, though she wanted to drop the whole thing. Orr was subsequently persecuted and given a maximum sentence. Farrah was so embarrassed that she started to keep a low profile, completely derailing her career momentum. Number 13, Catherine Bach. Catherine Bach may have risen to prominence during the tail end of the 70s. However, when it comes to hated blonde bombshells, she's one of the most quintessential examples. Though her sexy performances on the Dukes of Hazzard made her quite a controversial figure, hate for her hit an all-time high after she visited the White House. Apparently, First Lady Nancy Reagan took a liking to her iconic Daisy Duke poster. For some reason, this made some folks really angry. To them, glorifying such a poster was an undignified act for the office of the First Lady. Unfortunately for Catherine, she had to bear the brunt of the controversy. Catherine Bach is now entering her 70s. Though she's still presentable, she's a far cry from the goddess she looked like on the Dukes of Hazzard. She never landed another major role after the show ended. On top of that, she spends most of her time defending the show from criticisms on its political stances. Suffice to say, the Dukes of Hazzard did not age well. This should be easy for Catherine to accept, shouldn't it? Number 12, Olivia Newton-John. Now, who could hate on an angel like Olivia Newton-John? Well, you'd be surprised. She has had detractors her whole career. However, in the 70s, as her star was rising, her main adversary presented in the form of MCA Records, her own record label. See, Olivia had a deal with MCA Records to produce 4 albums. While 3 of these were released on time, she had to delay the 4th as she was busy filming Grease. MCA did not take this lightly at all and terminated her contract. A disgruntled Olivia then sued them for breach of contract. In the end, the court forced both parties to honor their agreement, but you can be sure the tabloids played up Olivia's image as a petulant child. But that was not all. One of the biggest mysteries of Olivia's life was the disappearance of her former boyfriend Patrick McDermott in 2005. After the pair broke up, Olivia visited the Gaia Retreat and Spa in Australia, while a despondent Patrick took his fishing boat out to sea. It was a trip he did not return from. The Coast Guard did all they could, but Patrick vanished without a trace. While the general consensus is that he was so sad about their breakup that he sought to end it all, there's a prominent conspiracy theory that he faked his death for the insurance money. What's the truth? We'll likely never know. Number 11, Sybil Shepard. Sybil Shepard's career began with a bang right at the start of the 70s. Because of her great beauty and immense sex appeal, she did not struggle to find roles. Unfortunately for her, one of the greatest directors of New Hollywood, Peter Bogdanovich, fell for her so hard that he left his wife and children to be with her. Right after that, Peter's career went into decline, as his wife was also one of his greatest creative collaborators. And who do you think the media blamed for this sad state of affairs? Yes, you guessed right. Sybil was so disappointed that she ran away from Hollywood and went back home to Memphis. There, she fell for a local auto parts dealer and nightclub entertainer and bore him a daughter. During the 90s, reports emerged that Sybil was incredibly jealous of her co-stars Bruce Willis and Christine Baranski for winning Emmy Awards on the show Moonlighting while she did not. It took a number of years for Sybil to address these rumors. She stated that she wasn't jealous, but she was really disappointed she didn't win an Emmy too. Number 10, Catherine Deneuve. Catherine Deneuve is one of the greatest French actresses in history, having starred in classics like The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, The Young Girls of Rochefort, and Belle de Jour. Unfortunately, most of the hate she has attracted has to do with her association with her ex-boyfriend Roman Polanski. After Polanski fled the US to avoid persecution for the statutory violation of the then 13-year-old Samantha Geimer, Deneuve came to his defense. On top of being an ex-boyfriend, Polanski was the director who made her an international superstar. Still, to the disappointment of many of her fans, she has not withdrawn her support for him. Also, there has been some speculation about Catherine's sexual orientation. However, she herself has come out to tell her fans to find better things to do with her time. In a 2020 biography of Johnny Hallyday, it was claimed he maintained a secret 56-year affair with Catherine. Catherine has not come out to confirm or deny these rumors, though. Number 9, Anita Ekberg. Swedish goddess Anita Ekberg had the kind of beauty most men are warned to stay away from. She also had quite a rotten personality to boot. In the 50s and 60s, when she was young and beautiful, she didn't care what she said about whom. To keep herself relevant, she badmouthed anyone and everyone to the tabloids, including former work associates. By the 70s, though, when most of her beauty had faded and her wealth was dwindling, her horrible words came back to haunt her. Despite a handful of roles here and there, she went through quite an undignified career decline. One of Anita's greatest film roles was in the movie La Dolce Vita, directed by hotshot director Federico Fellini. The movie, which won both an Academy Award and a Palme d'Or, gave Anita international superstardom. Anytime Anita was reminded of this fact, she got angry, stating that she was the one who made Federico Fellini relevant and not the other way around. However, when she was penniless in her later years, she turned to the Fellini Federation for funds. Ironic, wouldn't you say? Number 8, Goldie Hawn. After winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in 1969 for the movie Cactus Flower, Goldie Hawn was set to have a very exciting decade in the 70s. She was only 24 years old at the time and had many more years ahead of her in the industry. Unfortunately, she quickly learned that the limelight had its drawbacks. Negative attention from the tabloids really shook her confidence during this period. It didn't help at all that she was coveted by some of the most attractive men in Hollywood. After her split from actor and singer Bill Hudson, she ended up in the arms of Kurt Russell, who has protected her ever since. Though Goldie and Bill Hudson went their separate ways ages ago, their relationship has been complicated by the 2 children they share together. The children were raised by Goldie and Kurt, with Bill hardly in the picture. As a result, on Father's Day 2015, Oliver lashed out against his absent biological father. This prompted Bill to accuse Goldie of alienating his children against him. To make a bad situation worse, some of Bill's diehard fans attacked Goldie over his accusations. Number 7, Brigitte Bardot. In 1973, Brigitte Bardot announced that she was retiring from movies as a way to get out elegantly. Even so, the damage had already been done. Most people hated her for her perfect looks. The rest hated her for how much she used her sexuality in her movies. Despite expressing some strange beliefs much later in her career, Bardot was a victim of good old-fashioned misogyny in the 70s. These haters eventually felt vindicated after Bardot began to say some controversial things much later in her life. If you are a Bardot fan, don't look up her opinion on interracial relationships. There's an argument to be made that Bardot was groomed by Roger Vadim, who waited until she turned 18 to marry her. However, Bardot has never publicly spoken negatively about him. Instead, she wasted many of her public statements on inciting racial hatred. This is a crime for which she was fined no less than 6 times. In 2010, she criticized Kyle Newman for his plans to make a biographical film about her. She told him, "Wait until I am dead, otherwise sparks will fly." Number 6. Ursula Andress. Ursula Andress first exploded into popularity after starring as the Bond girl Honey Rider in the first ever James Bond movie Dr. No. After that, she leveraged her beauty to great ends, winning more and more movie roles. In the late 70s, though, something strange happened to her. News came out that her arm got broken after being struck by Hurricane Norman while body surfing in Malibu. This prompted an instant outpouring of sympathy, but some people were skeptical. Eventually, the truth that her on-again, off-again boyfriend Ryan O'Neal had abused her came to light. Well, this made her fans, who were initially sympathetic, angry at the deception without minding that Ursula was going through a very tough time. Regardless, Ursula is still considered the ultimate Bond girl by many. However, her later years have been really rough. Unlike Anita Ekberg, she took great care of affairs. Unfortunately, though, she could not stop the onslaught of disease as it ravaged her body. Ursula has been ravaged by osteoporosis for much of her old age. She once stated that she considered ending it all rather than suffering through the disease. Number 5. Mia Farrow. Mia Farrow is one of the most unproblematic actresses in Hollywood history. Even so, she has been caught up in some of Tinseltown's nastiest controversies. One event that painted an unfair target on her back was her marriage to Frank Sinatra. She was only 21 years old at the time, while he was 50. Did you know Sinatra had the gall to ask that she give up her career and become a housewife? She defied this and went on to make Rosemary's Baby, her most iconic movie. While filming, Sinatra's lawyer served her with divorce papers. You can bet Sinatra's large mob of fangirls didn't treat her kindly after this. Anyway, remember when we said Diane Keaton has continued to support Woody Allen in spite of the sexual assault allegations against him? Well, one of the major allegations he faced was for acting inappropriately towards Farrow's underage daughter, Dylan. Mia also lost 3 other children in rather mysterious circumstances. Though she has tried to whitewash their passing, the internet and the tabloids are ablaze with rumors of what actually happened. Number 4. Jessica Lange. While working as a model, Jessica Lange caught the eye of Dino De Laurentiis, one of the most influential producers in movie history. At the time, he was casting the female lead for his King Kong remake. Jessica beat out Goldie Hawn and Meryl Streep for the role, which raised some eyebrows. After that, despite the great success of the movie, Jessica's performance was almost universally panned. She attracted a lot of hate for being a hack actress. One of the only major critics on her side was Pauline Kael, whose review helped change public perception of Jessica's performance. This put Jessica's Hollywood career back on track. Even so, the hate for her performance in King Kong is something she hasn't quite been able to shake off. In addition to that, in 2021, Jessica filed an ageism lawsuit against hotshot producer Ryan Murphy. Murphy, producer of the hit anthology TV series American Horror Story, forced Jessica to resign from the show. This came as a shock to many, as Jessica's characters were fan favorites. In the lawsuit, she alleged that Murphy always criticized her looks and pitted her against younger actresses. Jessica has also revealed that all her life, she has suffered bouts of depression. She has said that this helps her in her work as an actress. Number 3. Fay Dunaway. From the mid-60s to the mid-70s, Fay Dunaway struggled much as an actress. She had attempted to win prestige on the stage, but theatrical audiences were proving a tough nut to crack. For her movie comeback, she decided to work with none other than the notorious Roman Polanski in the movie Chinatown. While filming, there was a lot of tension between her and Polanski, and this conflict was something the tabloids played up. As Polanski was the hotshot European director of the moment, Fay attracted most of the hate for their conflict. Curiously, years later, after Polanski was outed as a predator, Fay reconciled with him and called him a great director. More so, Fay has also suffered from multiple lawsuits alleging that she has mistreated her staff. In fact, her on-set reputation is so horrible that it completely destroyed her image as a genius actress. One story alleges that she threw a cup of her own urine at Polanski during the filming of Chinatown. In another story, she called her assistant a little homosexual boy. One time, during a stage performance in which she butchered her lines, she blamed her weakness on an audience member's hat. Not the best of excuses, is it? Number 2. Diana Dors. In the 70s, Diana Dors's career was in sharp decline. Nonetheless, her haters, whom she had slowly accumulated over the course of her career, were not in a forgiving mood. For most of her life, Diana was looked down upon for her blatant sexuality and extravagance. On top of throwing the craziest of orgies, she further irritated the public by wearing the most expensive clothes and driving the most expensive cars. Though in the 70s, all she wanted to do was leave that lifestyle behind, that reputation followed her everywhere she went. To most, she was the greatest example of everything wrong with stardom. It is said that during the orgies Diana would host at her home, she would hide secret cameras all over the room to record the young starlets as they got down to business. However, none of this footage was ever released. Wrong as it was to secretly record her guests, Diana did not do it for malicious reasons. She just truly loved sex and loved to privately look back on the performances. Of course you knew this was coming. Who else could be number one on such a list but Jane Fonda? There's an argument to be made that during the 70s, Jane Fonda was indeed the single most hated woman in America. As if her leftist opinions were not controversial enough, she really kicked the hornet's nest after criticizing the American Army during the Vietnam War. The hate Jane received at the time was so much that she had to tender a formal apology. Even so, some people have never forgiven her for her crass insensitivity. The Nixon government was so pissed off with Jane that when returning from an anti-war tour in Canada, she was arrested on suspicion of being a drug trafficker. Jane ardently protested these charges, but that hardly mattered. Despite scant evidence presented to her, she was still held by the authorities for a significant amount of time. You see, the goal was to embarrass her and destroy her reputation. These days, Jane is much more mellow. However, stories of her notoriety will continue to thrill people for generations. If you enjoyed this video, there's a good chance you'll also enjoy the one showing on your screen right now. Click, enjoy, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. See you on the next one.